Oh, goody.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Zombies here again, and today we're back with another Marvel Snap video. So today we're taking a look at some day one decks for Stegron. Stegron is a pretty sweet card. I think this one's actually been going a little bit under the radar. I haven't seen too many people excited for this one, but I definitely am. I think this is going to be a pretty sweet card. So let's talk about what Stegron does. So Stegron is a 4/5 with the text on reveal, move an enemy card from here to another location. This is a pretty similar line of text as something like Juggernaut. However, it is a little bit different. Obviously, it's a bigger body at a bigger cost, and it's not moving all the cards there played this turn. It's instead moving one card in specific. Now, we have found out that this is obviously a randomly selected card, but kind of like Arrow and Juggernaut, it is possible to hit cards that have not yet been revealed on that turn if you have initiative and the opponent doesn't have priority. So you are going to be able to move cards that are face up or face down with this card. I think this is a pretty interesting card. Juggernaut and Arrow are both pretty powerful cards, as is Polaris. And I think Stegron is going to join them in that family of kind of good, strong move interaction. And there are a few different decks that I think will utilize this effect. Taking a look at the first one here, trying him out in Sarah Control. Now, obviously, Zabu's been good in Sarah Control for a while. We're also trying out Jeff in this shell, though you do not need Jeff for the Sarah Control build. I just think he's kind of a nice bonus addition and gives us a little bit more play through things like Sandman or bad locations, but you can very easily replace Jeff with another 2-drop or 3-drop, depending on your preference. But this is definitely a lower to the ground version of Sarah Control. However, we are adding in Stegron in the counter spot. It's possible 3/4s might be too many, but I do think Shang and Enchantress are both pretty good counters. The big question with Stegron is he is mainly, I think, going to be good at either tempo swinging a lane early on, especially maybe on turn 3 with Zabu, or using him at the end of the game if the opponent is only going to be playing kind of one big card in a lane that's otherwise empty. Maybe that would be too conditional, but I think that is where he probably stands the best chance of shining in Sarah. We have a pretty low to the ground list with a lot of 2-drops to make our Hitmonkey better than the classic Sarah Control package of things like Killmonger plus Nova, Shang-Chi and Enchantress. It's a pretty straightforward deck, but I do think there's a chance Stegron could be a pretty nice addition to it. Then we have what I think is probably going to be the best deck for Stegron, and that is the Darkhawk Devil Dinosaur deck. Really solid deck in the meta, though you do have to be a little careful about Super Scroll now, but still a really, really good deck. I think one of the better decks in the game. Putting Stegron here in the White Queen spot, I do think you're actually going to end up replacing that spot with Iron Lad when he launches in about 2 weeks or so. But for the time being, I think Stegron will be an interesting one to try out in this spot. This is definitely not a deck you need Stegron for, but definitely a solid spot where I think he might find, at the very least, a temporary home. Then we have a deck that I've been playing quite a lot of and I'm going to be featuring soon here on the channel, and that is Sentry Junk. This deck has been really, really nice, especially with all the Galactus that's been going around recently. Kind of like half the cards in this deck just solo Galactus, so pretty good against the current meta that we've been seeing emerge. Now, I've been trying Jeff in this deck, but for the sake of giving Stegron a whirl, we put him in the Jeff spot. This used to be the Shang-Chi spot as well, and I think all 3 versions of this deck are fine, but I'm curious to see how Stegron ends up doing here, as we do already have something like Juggernaut to kind of move the opponent around, but maybe that additional redundancy of Stegron being able to come after our Storm to clear out that lane or lock an opponent's lane down on turn 4 or turn 5 might make it a worthy addition to this deck, which is already pretty good. Then the last list we have here is a Shauna Kazar Zoo list. I do think this is probably on the more memey or experimental side, but I do think at the very least it could be a fun list. Electra seems pretty good right now because there are some pretty powerful 1-drops running around, so I think she sees a bit more value than she would otherwise in a Zoo list. Same kind of thing with Iceman, he's been really good recently. We have the 0 Titania package, and worst case you can always play that 0 on the final turn, or burn it on an effect you don't really care about. Then we just have Khazar on Blue Marvel, so we go a bit wide. Shauna helps us flood the board better, and Stegron kind of acts as a piece of interaction here. Definitely not necessarily crucial for this kind of deck, but I do think he could be an interesting addition to it. And there we have it, 4 day 1 decks for Stegron. Again, probably not a card I think most people should spend 6k tokens on, especially if there are cards you're interested in coming soon. I know High Evolutionary and Iron Lad look pretty exciting for the month of May, so if you're limited on tokens, might want to save those. At the very least, I'd give it a few days, see how the initial testing results go with this card. I'm going to be picking it up, and I think I'll be streaming a bit with it as it releases tonight, since the release time's a little bit different now, launching in the season reset rather than the following afternoon. But I'm definitely excited for this card. I think he's a lot of fun, and I'm curious to try him out and see how he ends up doing. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. If you enjoyed it, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.